Hello, my name is Georgianne Ford with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today we have an attorney mediator that we've seen before. Debbie Schneider's back. Welcome back, Debbie.
Thank you.
And Debbie's actually going to touch on a topic in a nice, brief, clear way of what should we think about when we think we're not going to remarry, but we are going to remarry after a divorce or even the death of a spouse. What's important for us to think about? Debbie, tell us what we need to know.
All right. Well, everyone who sits down with me in the middle of a divorce in our mediation programs always says, "Oh, I'm not getting married again." And then guess what? Most do. Most find someone else they want to marry. So it's, this is an ongoing issue. And my first piece of advice for those people is get a prenuptial agreement, right? If most of the time, if you're entering a second marriage or third or fourth marriage, you are bringing assets into your marriage. And you're probably also most likely bringing children into your marriage. And it doesn't matter if your children are grown or if they're still minors. You probably want to protect those children and to make sure that at least some of your assets, prior assets, go to those children in the event of another divorce or a death. So my first piece of advice, as I said, is to get a prenup. Now, we write a fair number of prenups at the Alpha Center, and the first thing I advise couples about when they seek out our advice on this subject is to start way ahead of the intended remarriage date. Don't wait until your marriage is a week away and then bring up the topic, because most likely your fiance won't see the subject as kindly as you might like them to.
So, Debbie, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
I'm wondering what percentage of people would you say, because it would probably surprise us, do go forward with that prenuptial agreement?
Oh, many do. I don't know. I would hope at least 50%.
Okay.
At least 50% of people who are divorced and have maybe suffered, and also in addition maybe have suffered the death of a spouse, seek a prenup going forward. I think it's just at that point they probably learned a lot about how to navigate the world. At least we hope so. And that prenup is really essential, and they are more likely to see it as an essential component. So as I said, my first piece of advice is don't wait till the last minute. Second piece of advice is to sit down with the couple and give them a questionnaire, right? Ask them to disclose all of their assets and liabilities. What are you bringing into this marriage? And then I also have a lengthy conversation with the two parties, and I try to help them clarify what it is they're seeking. What are their goals? And for many of them, the primary goal is to protect those children. And as I said, many times the children may not be minors, they may be grown, but that need to protect those children and to protect those assets for those children is still a very valid concern, even if your children are grown. So I help clarify what the goals are. So in the event of a divorce, one of the things we also do is we review any documents that you executed in the last relationship. So any marital settlement agreements, any custody arrangements, and you need to obviously disclose any financial obligations you have to that prior spouse. So is there alimony? Is there an ongoing child support obligations? So those need to be made clear, and your fiance needs to hear what those are if they don't already know. So I help them clarify what their goals are. And I think then you draft an agreement that sets forth what everyone's priorities are and what needs to happen. There's a need to set forth what would happen in the event of a divorce, but also a big component of this is what happens in the event of a subsequent divorce. If there's been a death, that's obviously one piece of valuable information that needs to come out, but also what, if there's been a divorce, what what were the circumstances of that, right? What are the ongoing obligations? And then if in a subsequent divorce, what would happen, right? That's what you're really looking at. And, one of the objections we often hear in a remarriage scenario is, oh, I'm not going to get divorced again. Well, the reality is sometimes that happens. We all know that happens. And it's not your expectation, but sometimes it happens. So that's what we want people to recognize, is that this can happen again to them through no fault of their own. It doesn't have to be anybody's responsibility, but it certainly can happen again. And also one of the things that can happen goes along with a prenup is the whole issue of what happens if you don't make arrangements, if you don't put an estate plan or a prenup in place, and there is a subsequent death. Your new spouse probably is entitled to what we call an automatic share in the event of a death. So if you pass away and no one knows what your intentions are, your new spouse may be entitled to automatically share a piece of your estate. And that may run completely counter to your prenup or your estate plan. So that can really wreak havoc. So not only is a prenup important, but in my next blog, I'm going to address how important an estate plan is.
This is kind of a series.
It is. It's
excellent.
A series, yes. What to do when you remarry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Something that I've heard you say, I think that everybody should be reminded of, is if I ended up, when I came to you and I worked through the Alpha Center for a divorce, leaving that I would hope that I'd never see you again. And it's really nice to know I could come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Having met someone and both of us deciding to move forward with a marriage, and you could help us again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have done that with a number of my couples. I've stayed at the Alpha Center long enough to see those people remarry and
really
want a prenup. Absolutely. So it's continuity of care, and that's really important with these very personal life events.
Yeah, I think people would just feel so much better being able to go back to the Alpha Center, go back to even you, who's been there for many, many years.
Right.
And the trust is already built.
We hope
with the center and with you.
Yeah, we hope so, certainly.
Debbie, we're looking forward to part 2. So thank you for these suggestions and tips and guidance as usual.
You're very welcome, Georgianne.
Anyone has any questions for Debbie? Want to speak with someone at the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation? 1-800-310-9085. Thank you. Bye.